Good to see you guys again. It's Friday.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Good to see
Oh
you.
my goodness. So good to see you. Let's start off. Like, what I'm really intrigued about is how you guys started working together, bringing your very unique abilities together to do what you do.
Well, I started channeling. It came to me in meditation. I felt a presence in my head, and I just thought it was a presence. So I started asking it questions and getting answers back and didn't believe it. And it came every time I meditated. I had never felt it before, but I had never meditated before. And so I kept asking questions through a few months. And then one day I asked, "Who is this?" And they said, "We are Joshua." And I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea, but I kept having this conversation. And eventually one day they said, "Get up and go write, write, write." So I went to my office. I started typing just whatever was coming to me, the thoughts. And that first day was about 40 minutes. And it was the introduction to the first book, which is Joshua's first book, called A Perception of Reality.
Wow.
And every single day I went back, and 8 weeks later, that whole book was completed. And the next day, another book started. 8 weeks later, that book, Health, Wealth, and Love, was completed. And then I sent them out to some people and got invited to start a podcast. And one thing led to another. A community came about it, and people started listening to the podcast. And then I had the inspiration to start a course called the Boot Camp. And Christy was one of the first people to join that course. I had never met her before. And in that process, she came up to one of our retreats. We got to meet in person. And then we just became friends. And one thing after another, Christy had taken that course 8 times in a row, which is how that was supposed to work. Because every time you take the course, you do it again, and you see stuff you didn't see before. It's like reading a book, and you highlight areas, and you read it again. And now you see stuff you didn't see the first time you read it. And so she took the course 8 times. About a couple weeks after the 8th time, she was at my house in North Carolina, and a friend of ours was there. And that friend's dead grandmother came through Christy, and that was her first experience.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was interesting. And so that came through fully realized. And I, at the time, would say I was very scared. I didn't believe in mediums. I thought it was completely made up. I saw things that seemed incredible, but I believed they were plants in the audience. I didn't think it was real at all until I started having these experiences. And then a few months later, began channeling a group called White Light. And then in that, Gary was able to ask questions, which is something he was never able really to do. He had Joshua, but to have another non-physical group. So we stayed up late, and he asked millions and millions of questions. Some of it we recorded. And a few months later, then we decided, I got the inspiration to create another course, which was similar to the boot camp, but a little easier, lighter version. And we did that together. And from there, the rest is history. We started creating courses and doing coaching together. And that was in 2022. So about 4 years ago.
Oh, wow. How long did it take you guys to get acclimated to this new reality? Because Gary, you said that you were doing some meditation before that. Christy, is there any practice that you had prior leading up to this?
Oh, well, that question was funny because the first thought I had was, I'll let you know when I do get acclimated to this new reality.
We're still doing that.
And I would have to say there was a period of time in my life where I did meditate intensely in my 30s. And after a few weeks of doing that, my life sort of ripped apart. I won't get into the details of it, but it made me very afraid of meditation. So when I started listening to Gary and Joshua, and then decided to join the boot camp, he mentioned meditation. And I told him clearly, I'm not doing that. And so he said, well, these meditations are light. Just put them in your headphones and walk around, and you don't have to meditate. Don't be afraid. Knowing full well that once I did the boot camp, I would understand that my meditation hadn't caused my life to blow apart. but at the time I was relating those two. But so prior to starting the boot camp, I really didn't. I had studied other things, A Course in Miracles, had listened to Abraham Hicks for probably 25 years. But as far as a personal spiritual practice, I didn't have anything. So these things, it took me 2 years to do the boot camps and slowly but surely acclimate. But I still notice as I move and discover new things that I'll feel tired. I'll feel untethered is a great new word that I have. It's always adjusting all the time.
Mm. Wow, fascinating. So, do you guys want to share any of, I guess, any profound messages that you've kind of learned or gleaned from your experiences with channeling, with mediumship?
Well, the cool thing about this podcast is called The Other Side of Fear. And one of Joshua's famous quotes is, everything you truly want is on the other side of fear. And all fear is generated from this illusion of separation. Without that illusion of separation, there would be no fear. So what's really happening here is we come into this reality with this illusion of separation, and we can't remember who we are. We feel like everyone else is a separate person. Everything else is separate from us. But the truth is oneness and unity and connection. And so what I've sort of discovered is this journey of life is really a journey of remembering and realizing that all the fear is an illusion as well. But it comes at the point generally when you get an inspiration to do something. And the fear is triggered by limiting beliefs which are not true, but you don't examine them. And so a lot of times you'll say, well, I don't have time, or I don't want to call. I have the inspiration to call my mother, but she's going to get me on the phone for an hour and a half, and I don't want to go through that again. And that's all fear. Because the thing to do is to get yourself in some kind of, orientation where you hear the inspiration and you feel the fear that pops up with it, but somehow you're able to push past that fear. And really the work that we do is all about transforming our belief structure so that it's easier to hear the inspiration and easier to take action on the inspiration, because everything you truly want is on the other side of that fear.
Beautiful.
Right. We're constantly getting inspiration. It comes to us in our thought, in media, from a friend, an invitation to do something. Inspiration is everywhere. And we get that inspiration, I believe, as an elegant design to take us on a path to everything we truly want. We just don't know what that is. We think we want that car, that neighborhood, that mate. We think we want that, but we don't know for sure what that purpose and that path really is, what's going to truly be an unimaginable life to us. We don't know. But if we follow inspiration without questioning the things that bring up fear, I can't stop at this market that I just saw because I will be late for this meeting. Well, that's fear. The inspiration was clear. Pull over and stop. You have no idea what's there or why you might need to be delayed by 10 minutes and that everything. We do not trust anything. We want to control all of our outcomes, all of our reality, so that we get what we think we want. I have to be on time, so these people think I'm responsible. Then I get the new client. Then I make the money I want. Then I'll have the life I want. That's what we do. We do not live in the moment. If we can follow that inspiration, which is what I learned to do 6 years ago, little by little, it took me to a life that I have now that's unimaginable. But had you told me then that I would be doing this now, I would have said, no, I don't want to be a medium. That's weird. I wouldn't have wanted to do that. And now I wake up and every day is a Saturday. I love what I do. I love the community. I get to meet so many wonderful people and get so many unimaginable experiences. My life is one after the other, but I would never have gotten here had I not had the experience of doing that boot camp, doing these courses, and identifying those beliefs that were self-imposed, that were limiting me. I just had no idea what they were. But doing this process little by little, they softened. I started following inspiration more and more without realizing it, but doing things that really didn't make sense for my plan, letting go of control. And before I knew it, the unimaginable was right in front of me. That's the idea.
That's why we call our podcast An Unimaginable Life, because the things you think you want, you can imagine. They're things that other people have or things you've seen on TV or whatever, but those are just imaginable. And when you get those things, they don't feel the way you thought they would feel. What you want to do is go on this journey of following inspiration that will lead to something you couldn't possibly imagine. And that's the life you truly want. But to get there, you have to get to the other side of fear.
And trust is a part of that too, a huge part of that, because that is one of the things that we struggle with the most, just trust in the process and just like letting go. I think a part of that fear is like wanting to control everything, wanting to control the outcome, wanting to know all the answers up front.
Yeah, what do you think the scariest thing in this reality is? It's surrender, right? To give up all control and allow yourself to be led step by step by step to a place where you can't imagine and you don't know how it's going to work out and you don't know what's along the way. And every single day you have to, like, just even coming to be on this podcast, right? There's a little fear in that. Will I say a stupid thing or come across weird? And so this is happening all day long, but we push past some of it because we think it's going to get us what we want. But the more you do it, like I've done 30 podcasts and I've done my own podcast for years. And I meet people all the time. And so I've built some confidence in this one area. And so for me, this is a little easier today than it was the first time I did it.
Yeah.
But every single thing is going to be something new. And it's always going to be hard the first time. But if you get into this sort of momentum and trust that it will lead you to what really resonates with you. And there's something deep in all of us, which we call our pre-birth intentions. And those pre-birth intentions are calling us forward to a certain experience, a certain type of life. And it's generally not the life that we would choose if we could, have an idea. I wouldn't want to be a channel. And in fact, I thought that was the weirdest thing in the world. And I didn't tell anyone for so long. And I had to come out to people. I've written 4 books already. And now I had to tell my brother and his wife and my mom and my dad and my friends,
Yeah. Something to really pay attention to is the phrase that this is a feeling reality. It's something Joshua said a long time ago. White Light talks about it all the time. All you're ever doing is feeling something in every moment. So what you are afraid of is that you might feel negative emotion. If this happens, I'll feel bad. If this happens, I'll feel good. If I get this, I'll feel good. If I get that, I'll feel bad. That's all we're really afraid of. If I'm rejected, I'll feel bad. If I lose all my money, I'll feel bad. You're not afraid of the thing. You're afraid of how it's going to make you feel. Because if you perceive that you would feel great if all your money was gone, you'd be giving it away because you perceived you were going to feel great when that happened. I've seen somebody do it, right? So you're always feeling something. So what we have learned is that if we have a tool to help us with that negative emotion, because that negative emotion is just pointing us to our limiting beliefs. You are feeling angry, you're feeling resentful, you're feeling hopeless, despair, because you have a self-imposed limitation that you're unaware of. And this event, this fear is here to point you to that, and you can find it. And that's something that Joshua brought in with the boot camp that changed my life. Once I, use this tool, and it wasn't easy at first and still isn't sometimes, but it's actual writing and answering these questions. And it takes me right to this limiting belief. We only have a handful of them. The same ones come up over and over again, but you become aware of it. And in that, you're able to process it and soften it, prove it false, because it is always false. We're limitless. When you have a belief that limits you, it's not true. So this tool helped me to recognize that, wait a minute, I have something I can use when I feel bad. So I'm not afraid of feeling bad anymore. That was one of the first things that helped me release just a little tiny bit of my control on my external reality, my perceived control, doing things to make people think something about me, being ridiculously on time, whatever it happened to be that I was doing to control what was coming back to me out there. But we can't do that. We learn that over time. You can't control because it's from your inside. But what I can do is know I have something I can use when I feel a negative emotion, do this process, and all of a sudden I feel a whole lot better. And I realize I had nothing to be afraid of. Once I learned that, I don't have to be afraid that I might feel bad tomorrow if I don't do this, or if I do this, if I say this. Now I'm free. It gave me a sense of freedom that step by step, it wasn't overnight. It was over the course of time doing this every day. I lessened those limitations and realized that was all I was afraid of, was that I might feel bad. And now I don't have to be afraid anymore.
Tell me more about this boot camp, Gary.
Well, the boot camp was something that was created like a one size fits all, like most courses. Everyone takes the exact same course. It's really a way of shifting your perception of yourself in your reality, which we call perspective, how you see yourself in your reality. And that's made up of your beliefs. So you have limiting beliefs, empowering beliefs, and the intensity of those beliefs. When you shift that, you shift your perspective of yourself. You expand your perspective of yourself, and that perspective is translated into a vibration. The vibration is emitted from you, and your reality reflects that vibration so that you can see what you're vibrating. So the main thing here was to understand, and this was all new to me. I just channeled it. So I'm learning this as it's coming out, and I'm doing the boot camp myself. But the main thing, and really the subject of Joshua's first book, A Perception of Reality, is that the outside conditions and those people appear as if they're making you feel something, but they literally cannot make you feel something. All they're doing is behaving in a way or acting in a way or saying something that triggers a belief. So if they say something nice and give you a compliment, that triggers an empowering belief. And that is a shift in perspective, and that's what you're feeling. So that is associated with a good feeling, positive emotion. But if they give you, something derogatory and an insult, well, they've just, if you feel something, it means they've triggered a limiting belief that you have about yourself. And in that interaction, you drop your perspective, and it's the drop of perspective that makes you feel bad. Now, the emotion is the emotion, and the emotion itself isn't good or bad, but we're used to saying this kind of emotion is associated with that kind of event, and I drop my perspective at that kind of event, so that emotion, say guilt or something like that, that guilt feels bad. But actually, the emotion is just guidance from your inner self. And it's just letting you know, hey, have you dropped your perspective or you've raised your perspective? That's all that is. Now, if you drop your perspective, it just means that you're interpreting reality inaccurately compared to how your inner self is interpreting it. Because your inner self exists in the non-physical where there is no illusion of separation, therefore no fear. And so your inner self is guiding you through these emotions saying, all right, when you feel fear, it just means you're misperceiving what's really going on. Now, that's a radical shift in perception. Because we always think that, if I get a bill in the mail that I'm not expecting, that bill caused me to feel bad. But it's just a limiting belief that was triggered, and I use that to drop my perspective, and that's what feels bad. The bill, the thing the person says, this is true because you could have one person say something to you, and it doesn't affect you at all. But then you have another person, maybe someone who's closer to you, who you care about, who you want them to see you in a good light. And when they say the same exact thing, you feel bad. So how is it one person and not the other person? Because there's a belief associated with that person that's not there with the other person. For instance, you're walking down the hair and someone says, I love your blue hair. Or you have a terrible haircut, and you don't know them. You just think they're crazy. And it doesn't affect you at all. But if someone you love says they don't like your haircut, then you're like, oh no, and you drop your perspective. So once you start to disassociate what's happening outside of you from how you're feeling, suddenly everything starts to make sense. And now you have something you can do about it.
Yeah, and that's what the boot camp really was all about, was teaching us that.
But it was too advanced, and it was one size fit all. And so Christy came in at a very high level. She had a lot of self-worth. Her life was going great. She was successful. And she didn't really have any major problems. So
no trauma.
she got it pretty quickly, but she had to do it over and over and over. Most people would take it and they weren't really ready for it. And so they just do it one time. They'd say it's nice, but they didn't have any massive change. Now a few people had radical changes.
Yeah, I was going to say I talked to enough people that said they don't know what they would have done without it. It changed their life. They couldn't function.
Right, but you had to do it over the course of like 2 years. And for most people, that was too long, and they couldn't keep the momentum because there was a lot of work to do for it. And so we had just recently, October, from time to time, people obviously connect with Christy and have a spirit guide reading. And I had the inspiration to actually talk to my inner self. So we get together just on my porch one night, and Christy brings in my inner self, and we ask all kinds of questions. It was really fun. But one of the things we asked was, how do we create something like the boot camp, but that it would meet people where they are, whether they're just starting or they're super advanced, it doesn't matter. And they said, well, you got to know the person's perspective before you start. And once you know their perspective, then you can create a customized course for them. And we're like, okay, we didn't understand how that worked and everything. And they said, well, this is called perspective mapping. So what we did was we created a series of 10 surveys with a lot of questions. And then we combine it all together, have a call with me, and I dig deep into someone's perspective in every area of their life. And we'll pick 2 or 3 areas where they like to see some improvement. And then that person will have a spirit guide reading with Christy. And their spirit guides will come in and explain to them how to proceed in this new project, which is called the Freedom Project. It's 100 days, and what to do every day of those 100 days. They'll also talk sometimes about their pre-birth intentions or their core limiting beliefs. And the spirit guides are fascinating. And when we'll do something similar to that in the latter part of the show, but when you have your spirit guides showing you what to work on and how to be during this 100 days, it just changes everything. So getting that information, getting their surveys, where their perspective is, we customize this 100-day journey specifically for that person. So no 2 people ever have the same course. And not even to the close. It's completely unique to every single person, because every single person's unique. And it makes so much sense, doesn't it? We know everyone's unique. It's like, why doesn't education work? Because everyone's in the same classroom getting the same thing, but they're at different levels.
If only school was
and
like that.
they're not learning what they're interested in. They're just being fed information. And so
Yeah.
what we learned, which is fascinating, was that this Freedom Project is actually a field. And when people enter the field, they are tuning to a version of themselves that will exist when they complete their 100-day project. And that person is already free, already abundant, already clear, has done all this work. And I don't know how it works, but somehow, some way, when they're doing their process in the Freedom Project, their modules every day, it's not about learning it, it's about remembering it. And it just seems as if you always knew it. And that's what we could never have conceived of this idea before. I never even heard of this idea. And so Chris and I have another podcast called An Unimaginable Life. And in that podcast, Christy will bring in two famous dead people from history. And they talk a little bit about their lives, but mostly about one spiritual topic. And they were talking, one of the dead talks, about how the Freedom Project is this field and explained how fields work. And so right now, the three of us are creating a field of energy and connection between the three of us. And we're actually sharing a lot of thoughts and ideas telepathically, or it's available to us in this field. So everything I'm saying now, quite likely, is part of this field. And I'm just getting the ideas to say. And then when you ask a question, it's quite likely that that's coming from this field. And the intention is for other people to hear this and to get an idea of what, fear is and perception is and beliefs are and all that stuff. And so anyone who listens to this podcast is now in that field. And as they listen to this, maybe once or even twice, they'll start to shift their perspective of themselves. And they'll start to get insights and inspiration and ideas, and that will lead them on a path. And so it's, there's no way you could understand this stuff if you didn't have Joshua coming in, who's talking from non-physical, then White Light, who Christy channels, and I can ask White Light questions. And then we do this dead talk, and we can ask famous people what life is like from their non-physical position and how they see human life and what they would do differently had they known what they known, and what their pre-birth intentions is. It's really fascinating. So it's so much fun to do too.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So we don't know who's coming in. So when we start this, they'll give us clues and we'll try and figure it out quickly as we go. And then once we do, so it's like a little game of discovery. Once we figure out who it is, then we Google them, and like a lot of times I don't even know who they are.
And, me too. A lot of times.
We see what their life is like. But then the questions will come to you and me, and we will ask questions as we go along, and they'll talk about one spiritual subject, possibly fear today. Who knows?
Okay, let's see what happens. I have another question though.
Yeah.
Christy, when you're working with people and people are getting like a sense, they're getting information about their pre-birth shenanigans, what was going on, what they came here to do, what was the whole plan, what's the whole point of them being here, right? What are some of the surprising things that occurs to them?
Well, the pre-birth intentions are typically they're very interesting. They're always, I think, almost always surprising to people, but they're never. Understand this: they are not the script. The pre-birth intentions are direction, an overall idea. Then when we come into this reality, then life provides those variables where as we move along, we're going to develop limiting beliefs. That's part of the plan to come in, be in this certain environment with this type of parents. So I would adopt these beliefs. Many times people are told that they chose to be super sensitive emotionally, which we know now is a superpower, because if our emotions are our communication from our inner self, which I believe, then to be very sensitive to that is a superpower, to be able to feel very quickly and deeply, to know where you are. And for most people that I'm talking to, they understand that they are emotionally sensitive, but because it was painful, they shut it down because they were told all the time they were too sensitive or they were overreacting. So they shut themselves down so they can't feel as deeply and as easily as they once did. So that's really it. We understand that the pre-birth intentions aren't necessarily specific, that I will go to this high school and I will get A's and B's and I'll be on the debate team, right? It's not like that. It's an overall sense of I'll be emotionally sensitive, but what I want to discover is how I can be emotionally sensitive and of service and in great love, but also maintain my sovereignty. How is that done? And coming into this reality is a perfect opportunity to experience separation, forget who you are, and your soul then gets to go on that journey of playing that game. But life provides those variables. Does that answer that question a little bit?
When we talked to Prince, when we talked to Prince, this was the first one. We used to get the dead people coming in when Chris and I were just hanging out, and we never recorded them.
And so they would just show up.
When Prince came in, I said, "Oh, let me get my phone," and it was a 4-hour conversation, and my phone died halfway through. But it is our first podcast, and he said his pre-birth intention was to experience a kind of loneliness that was so extreme and had never been experienced before. And with that, how was your life lonely? And he said, I so believed that I was at a different level than anyone else that I could not relate to anyone. And that feeling of loneliness was something that no one really ever experienced before. It was a completely different kind of loneliness. So that's one kind of thing that people come in with to experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how his own human perception also created that experience that he intended on experiencing. That is so crazy.
Yeah.
And it goes to show how much our beliefs really do create the reality that we exist in, like our individual reality, our collective reality. And I always say all the time, like, even though the world seems upside down, like this is something that we all co-created.
Yep.
And it's perfect. It's exactly as it should be. Once we understand that concept that there really is no wrong in the universe, and then we can get a different perspective on ourselves. We realize we don't make mistakes, right? We can't. We're not getting it wrong. We're not going to get it done. It's a completely different life.
Wow. How do people respond to learning? Because I know like that's a part of that's a kind of the hard part of the work that you're doing, right? Let's say that is when people recognize or they're being told that whatever it is that's happening in your life, you created it, right? That's not an easy pill to swallow sometimes, right? And that's why, like, as you said, like, not everybody is ready for a course like that because some things are kind of hard to swallow if you're not ready for that information, if you're not open to that kind of perception, right? So,
right.
Well, what happens is when they have listened to Joshua for a while, or they listen to Christy on the Dead Talks, we do it with a group of people. And all these people who are on that call are either in the Freedom Project or in the past were in the boot camp. And there's one tool that's used. It's called the manifestation event worksheet. A manifestation event is a term coined by Joshua to mean any experience where you feel either positive or negative emotion. And so what happens is when people join the Freedom Project, wherever they are, if they just start, it works better for people who are brand new. But once you realize that whatever triggered that negative emotion is pointing to a belief. So we have this form, you write about what that experience was, what happened exactly. You write down all the thoughts that came to you. That person's a jerk. I'm never going to talk to them again. I'm going to tell someone else about them, blah, blah, blah. And then you describe the emotion in detail, how exactly you felt, where in the body you felt it. And then you say, what belief could have been triggered by that experience? And you'll get an idea, maybe a memory or something, and you'll write down that belief. Then you take that belief and you look at all the times in your life where that belief was not true. People don't listen to me, right? I'm mad because he didn't listen to me. Well, the belief is people don't listen to me. And then you say, hold on, last week I gave this talk and everyone listened. And the other night I had this long conversation with my husband and he listened. And you just write down all these experiences that are the opposite of that belief. And that, there's more to it, of course, but that generally that softens the belief. And you do it day in and day out. Every time you have them, you have many a day. So you just pick one. And it doesn't have to take very long. You don't have to think too much about it. Once you're done with it. But over time, your life is transformed. And it works 100% of the time. It's never not worked. Now, there's some people who say, yeah, if I'm the creator of my reality, I certainly wouldn't create this reality. Well, it's simply because you're not understanding the mechanism. The mechanism is the vibration. The vibration is emitting from you based on how you see yourself in your reality. That's what's creating the reality. So if you want to alter the reality, you can't change the conditions. They're being created from within. You change the inside. And so this is all inner work, looking at beliefs, looking at why you believe in. And when people see a belief, it's like, why do I believe that? Where did that come from? And it's like these unexamined beliefs have been running the show the whole time. And as soon as you put a light on them and become aware of them, everything changes. Every single thing changes.
Yeah. I think when I work with someone that is new to this and we say, you create your reality, that, as you said, I loved your phrase, that's a difficult pill to swallow. In fact, I would call it impossible for someone to accept. White light has told me for several years that I will never fully believe that. The design of this reality is that I won't believe I'm the creator of this reality.
Yeah.
I recognize it and remember it more and more. But what I will tend to do is go back to something a little more simple, which is that your life is happening for you, not to you. That's a bit different than you created this. Because now we go to blame and it gets argumentative there. But what if this experience, instead of some organization doing something to you, you said, well, wait, they mishandled my delivery, but it's for me. Now you have something a little bit different to work with. What if this is actually happening for me? I felt negative emotion that probably means I have a belief that's been triggered. Now I have something I can use. I'm going to go to that and I'm going to look. I'm just going to go with the idea that this is happening for me and not to me. What if that's it? And that's such a massive shift in perspective and translates to a shift in your vibration. Just that one question. When something happens, if you feel bad and you think it happened to you, just stop. Wait, could this be happening for me? How could this be for me? How could this flat tire be for me and not some random thing happening to me? It's a bit different. And it's a little softer than, you created it. That doesn't make sense to most of us. It doesn't to me even.
Yeah.
Because I didn't consciously create it. But I do understand the mechanism of this reality and what's happening is it's coming from my vibration and what I believe.
Yeah. Wow. So true. Is there anything you guys wanted to share before we move into the new
Let's
part
jump
of
into
the
it.
other part of
Yeah,
the.
let's jump in. Let's see what we
Are you
got
guys
because
Yeah.
we're
ready?
Get
well,
your
yeah, because then
Google
sometimes
ready.
they'll go on for a long time, so we'll have to keep them at a little um, little shorter time frame here. Okay. Pardon my scribbling.
No worries. Take
What
your
is what I
time.
have to do to focus. Okay.
I'm good for time, so no need to
Okay.
rush.
Okay. All right, so there's two for sure. One male, one female. Okay. The female a little clearer first, I think. What is that? The first image is a bunch of mints, like little red and white mints, and I can actually taste it. Minty. Funny. Okay.
Which is not your favorite taste.
No, she knows that too. She's messing with me. So newspaper, but I was able to get in close, and it looks like gibberish. I can't read anything. It's just a mess, but it's clearly a newspaper. Okay. Wow. You can almost get the sense, like from medium height, really broad shoulders. She has. Okay. What's that? Moses. A good strong image of Moses from her. All right. Okay, we got numbers. 18. 1822.
1822.
Yeah, it's probably birth. Is it birth year? Death year? Birth year. It's a birth year. 1822. She's H.
Oh, here we go. Harriet Tubman.
That's it.
She is affectionately called Minty.
Okay, there we go. She's got a sense of humor.
Nobody's going to believe us.
Now, what the newspaper is about, it's a newspaper, but it just looks like total gibberish, and she's really got that forward.
Wow.
Okay, so let's see what she's saying here.
Harriet Moses Tubman. Did you know that?
Her real name was Moses? No. Really?
Well, that's what it says in Wikipedia. Harriet Moses Tubman. Born Araminta.
She's got a
Russ.
different name.
Araminta
Yeah,
Russ.
she's got. Okay, right. She's got a different right. That Harriet Tubman was not really. She adopted it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Married name, and then something else from her family, Harriet. Okay. Okay. She wants me to move on. All right. So I think fear is definitely what, because the first thing she's saying, she says, fear is not something. It's not something to conquer. Wow, her energy is really. She's got a stillness to her that is. It feels supernatural, which you guys would think is funny that I'm talking to dead people, and I would say that I can tell that, but it's not. It doesn't feel like a passive stillness. It's like it's listening stillness. She's so interesting in her energy. Okay, she's going to say something else and then she'll move. Okay. What are you saying? She's most humans. Okay. we exhaust ourselves trying to defeat fear instead of trying to listen to what it's pointing to. Listen to it to see what it's pointing to. Okay, she's going to step back because we have another one. Okay, male. Okay, interesting. No, he's different, man. His energy is more, she was really grounded and still. His is sort of like atmosphere. It's really open. Really slender guy. Elegant look. Delicate little hands. It's like he feels sort of like he's in between worlds, right? Like in between cultures, in between like sadness and beauty, in between human and even in between human and non-physical. He's got even birds around him. He's a writer. Okay. He's writing something. Hold on. Let's see what it is. I am alive like you. I am standing beside you. Okay. An image of, Rodin's statue, The Thinker?
Mm-hmm.
I've got that, but I mean, was that him, but that's not. Okay. 1883. He doesn't want to play with the numbers much. He's going to try something else. I for an eye for an eye blinds the world. Okay.
Okay, hold on.
That's funny. Okay. 1883. That's the only numbers he's given me. Let's do this then. K. First initial K.
Is it
KG? KG.
Yeah. Okay. It's Kahlil Gibran.
That's right. Okay.
I just searched.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That
That's right.
first
That's him.
quote. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm alive like you. And I'm standing beside you. Okay. Well, that I know.
Do you know who that is?
No.
Who is that?
He was a Lebanese American writer, poet, and visual artist. He was also considered a philosopher, although he himself rejected the title. He is best known as the author of The Prophet, which was first published in the United States in 1923 and has since become one of the best-selling books of all time. How about that?
Wow.
So,
Wow.
The audience is going to go,
Wow.
you guys don't know who this is?
They always do that to me. I almost never know.
I didn't know.
All right.
Born
so
January 6th, 1883.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So, all right. So he says on his own here, hold on. Adding to what Harriet said, that fear often is the guardian of the doorway to the unlived self. That's beautiful. Okay, so they want to they want to be sure that what they get across is that fear is not something to conquer. And they say okay, this is collective. This is both of them. So today we want to speak about not escaping fear, but understanding it. You spend an enormous amount of time trying to eliminate your discomfort. Yet much of your discomfort is sacred. Some trembling belongs to transformation. So many of you here believe that fear means don't go, but it often means you're just approaching the edge of your known self. And then just beyond that edge is the life that you could not have imagined before becoming it, which is exactly what we were saying earlier. Thank you. So today they want to talk about fear not as an enemy, but as a threshold. Okay. 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 They say that we've been so taught to mistrust our own emotional guidance, the emotional guidance system. We're taught to suppress, override, numb, distract, and conquer ourselves in a way, conquer that emotion. But our inner self is a friend. It's us. It's our ally and our companion, and isn't punishing us through emotion. It's communicating through what they're calling resonance. So it's a compass. There's different kinds of fear. Okay, slow down. There's conditioned fear, inherited fear, survival fear, which is often there, intuitive, like cautioning almost. And then there's expansion fear, something they're calling expansion fear. And we confuse them all. The fear that says something is unsafe is different from the one that says you're becoming larger than your old identity. And the inner self is communicating through openness, right? Constantly, through relief, through excitement, through resentment, grief, longing, even heaviness and contraction. But that's to orient us. That negative emotion is often that, show me that. I don't know what they're saying right here. That friction between who you truly are and the story you currently believe. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for that one. When we interpret emotional discomfort as failure instead of information, our suffering intensifies. It's the emotion itself is rarely the suffering. It's the resistance to the emotion that is the suffering. And so that our inner self speaks. Which one? Stop, then do that together. Inner self speaks first in these light whispers. They're light whispers of feeling long before it is earthquakes. It's happening all of the time. There's the way they're showing it to me. It's like emotion is like this weather pattern. It's like currents in water, music just changing its key a little bit. And we ask, how do I stop feeling this fear, right? How do I stop feeling this? Instead of the question they would like us to switch to is, what is this feeling trying to show me? And so the feeling, don't give me that. It's like anxiety feeling. It's stop with that. It's often, they say this, it's deeply your soul sensing movement before the mind has really created a language for that transformation. So that's the feeling of anxiety often. That's interesting, right? Let's take that on for a second. Sadness comes often when there's a version of yourself that just can no longer continue in that way. So they say emotions are really this sacred communication, and they are when we listen to them without immediate judgment, not obeying them blindly and dramatizing them or suppressing them, but listening to them and understanding what they're telling us. Okay.
And feeling them fully?
Feeling them.
Are we supposed to feel them fully?
We are.
Okay.
The inner self, they say, doesn't communicate through shame. It's not condemnation and shame. That is what our sense is of the degree of incoherence we have from our inner self. It isn't that the inner self is saying shame on you. It's our interpretation of that gap in the vibration between our inner self and us.
So the bigger the gap, the more intense the emotion, and like the bottom level, like despair or hopelessness, is all that's saying is that's the biggest gap. And like boredom would be just a slight gap. Is that what they're saying?
It can mean different things, because boredom can be felt intensely, and it can also be slight. There's no black and white here, but the degree, the intensity of the emotion will indicate the intensity of the limiting belief, not necessarily the how far down the scale the emotion feels.
Okay.
That's not necessarily the indicator.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a combination of the emotion and the intensity of the limiting belief.
That's what they're saying. So they say that we think alignment or coherence, right? That I'm in alignment, I'm lined up, means always feeling good. But sometimes at first that alignment feels like a disruption, because your inner self, your soul, the soul of you isn't trying to preserve your comfort. It's trying to preserve your life force, your aliveness. That's what it's preserving, not your comfort. Okay, I think I understand that. So they say we stay trapped because we've learned to really distrust this guidance system that is the only thing we have to really lead us. It's what we have to lead us to the life that we truly want. We override our intuition, our exhaustion. Slow down, please. Joy, curiosity, grief, desire. And then we wonder why we feel disconnected. So the emotions are not the enemy. They're the doorway to your awakening. That's what they are. It's okay. Okay. Still both of you? Okay. Their frequencies like feel and sound different. So it's when they're going together, sometimes it's okay. So fear, they say, isn't always, in fact, most often, it's not a sign to turn back. It's the old self sort of standing at a line of crossing of a river before preparing to go over it. It's not, the question isn't, can I eliminate fear? It's what kind of fear is this, to ask. So there's fear of misalignment, right? There's this fear of expansion, which shows up like in intensity and vulnerability and excitement that's mixed with terror, right? Uncertainty with where the energy is moving forward, and we sort of accidentally abandon this path to the life we truly want because we mistake that expansion fear for some sort of danger. So they just want this to, so your inner self is always guiding you. It's constant because you're always feeling, always feeling something, which we said earlier. But it's not through force and it's not through punishment. It's resonance. When you feel a negative emotion, you're just a little out of resonance with your inner self. You're not seeing from the perspective of your inner self. Okay, so we don't, what does that mean? It's like a cage. Okay. No, it's okay. So let me just say it this way. We don't usually recognize what they're calling the cage while we still believe the cage is our reality. Okay. So because we believe that our limiting beliefs are very visible and conscious, we're not understanding that they're often hidden, and they're hidden because they feel normal. That's why they're hidden. So we just don't recognize this cage because we believe this cage is our reality. Like that's it. So we switch from asking why this happened to me to a much deeper question of what belief in me became visible because this happened. That's it. That's the way they want to say it. So that, all right, this is him. He has a real, did you say he was a poet?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's got this sort of poetic thing when he's by himself. The hidden belief often lives quietly in darkness until emotion shines light on it. We think that discomfort means something has gone wrong, is going wrong, or just is wrong. But it is actually this, our inner self, our soul, is lighting where love hasn't fully entered yet. So beliefs will say things, we say things about ourselves. Okay. Yeah, I say this all the time. I like this. It's always about ourselves. It's not about other people. I'm unsafe. I'm unworthy. I have to control everything. I have to keep everything together. I'm always abandoned. I must earn love. I can't trust myself. Those things, those beliefs there that are in there, they are so unconscious until we have an experience that's in perfect timing to activate it right, activate that belief emotionally. And then at that moment, we have what they're calling a sacred opportunity, not to suppress it, but to feel it and investigate the belief beneath it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Harriet now. Okay. So now they're going back and forth. All right. So she says, without the activation from an experience, most all of our limiting beliefs would remain invisible for our entire lifetime. And because we resent these things that happen in our lives that trigger them, we think that it's punishment for something, right? Something we've done wrong, some proof that we've failed, evidence that we're not on our path. That's a big one. But they are actually just exposure, clarification, and invitation. The event itself matters far less than the belief that it exposes.
Oh.
Okay. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
They're going to be quiet for a second.
What was Harriet's pre-birth intention? Was it around the subject of fear? Because from our perspective, she seemed super brave and able to overcome fear.
Okay. She's going to answer it. She says she's going to answer it a little bit differently here. She's going to talk about what her greatest fear was. Okay. She says people assume her greatest fear was death, but it wasn't. Her greatest fear was failing the call, the pull she had inside of her. She said this understanding will light up for you both perhaps what some of her pre-birth intention was without listing it. Okay. Okay. This is really interesting. Sometimes they do that stuff. Okay. That during her life, okay, she had so many moments of sheer terror. When it was, that terror was very physical and it was really immediate. It was, she says she was like captured, extreme violence against her. She was betrayed by people she trusted. At times she was, okay, you cannot do that.
They give her feeling.
Starving. She's really like intense with emotion. Starving, exhausted. I can feel that. It's insane. Losing people that she was trying to guide or protect, I guess. And just making the wrong decision. That was intense for her. But beneath all of that, those moments of terror, what she really was afraid of was turning away from what she knew she had come to do.
Wow. How'd she know?
Wow.
She did know that. She knew it in her life. And she said it was, at times, it was this unbearable weight of responsibility. She says there were so many nights that she didn't feel brave at all. And some times where she just felt like she was burdened, right? But now, this is what she wanted to get across, how she sees it differently from her perspective now. Okay. Was that her fear wasn't evidence that she wasn't in alignment. It was evidence that her human self understood the magnitude of what her inner self and her had chosen.
That's crazy.
Holy moly. I have never heard it like that.
Was she psychic? Did she have these gifts that she could get that?
Yes, she was quite a bit. She said it was. She had a, she's very funny. It didn't come on like mine specifically. In her family, and she had sisters that, things, people separated from her. I see if I can get what she's trying to say. So in that, there was a very clear, she felt telepathic communication, although she didn't understand it at the time. But she, unlike me, where mine came with meditation and play, much of hers came with, she had a head injury, a brain injury. And it shifted some things and came on with that. She knew, like me with alcohol, it takes away my psychic connection. So she had things, what are you saying? Things done like operations almost without anesthesia, because she didn't want her conscious, like psychic sort of connection to dissipate. So she did some weird stuff to avoid it. She's laughing at me like all I have to do is avoid drinking alcohol. Yeah, she's really, really fun. So she said that she also, she's trying to tell us from this perspective now that at the time she thought freedom, having her physical freedom, would allow her to finally rest from being so vigilant over her external conditions. She really thought that was going to be the case.
That's what everyone thinks.
But she says true freedom was never the control over those conditions. What she sees now is that the uncertainty and the awareness of the uncertainty, thank you very much, I've been going through this for the last week, is that true awakening. It's not a mistake within it. The unknown, finally recognizing that the unknown is not the enemy, it's the field where you and your trust, your faith, your inner self, you connect and it becomes real. And you don't experience that realness until you have an understanding consciously of moving forward in uncertainty and knowing it's not a mistake. I get that. I just went through it. Okay. All right. I love her. I do not want her to go away.
Do all humans have a calling like hers, but maybe they can't feel it as much? And if they do, how do they get it?
No. Not necessarily. No, pre-birth intentions are as unique as each one of us are. Hers was specific and big for her.
Wow.
Yeah, and that it was a big expansion life for her that she chose in that lifetime. It wasn't even specific to be born into slavery. That was just part of the variables that her life, that the universe, the balance, picked there for her. Okay, this is Kahlil. All right. He says he's going to add to this a little bit that what he feared in life was more existential. It was separation. He says in his life, that's that between worlds I felt from you, isn't it? Okay. In his life, he was all the time between identities, between cultures, between wanting to belong and belonging, and between this earth 3D life and spiritual knowing and understand it. And he also carried a profound loneliness that was part of his intention, just like we were talking about Prince, I think. It wasn't because people didn't love him, but he felt that he was difficult for people to translate. That he lived in a world, I do understand, I know, that words couldn't entirely reach. And so he was very afraid of being misunderstood, or not fully expressing what he felt like his soul was trying to say through him. He feared that distance, the separation between what he's showing me as hearts. He experienced a lot of grief, very, very intensely, but beauty in the same way, love in the same way, just intense feeling. And from his non-physical perspective now, he says really what he feared most wasn't really separation. It was this illusion of separation. And he says, no love was ever lost, and no soul is ever truly alone, and no desire or longing is ever meaningless. He sees that longing, that desire now as not a flaw or an incompleteness, but it too is a compass. It's this, your soul, what it is, it's a soul remembering how vast and big it is while temporarily living in this human form. It's also about meaning. Okay, this is them together. Okay. That most of our fear isn't about the thing itself. It's about what we believe the thing means. We attach it to imagined endings, to rejection, to failure, to abandonment, insignificance. They're playing with me on that one. But the soul is never afraid of experience. The soul came for experience. And what we fear is that emotional pain, because we believe emotional pain means something terrible about us. But emotion is movement. It is not our identity.
Wow, that was amazing.
Whoa.
Wow.
What do you think?
Oh my God.
They're brilliant, aren't they? Whoa. That was emotional.
Wow.
Yeah, they can give
was
Christy
intense.
emotion, and it's like really intense for her.
Can
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, that was intense.
She was emotional. Yeah. I have a sense that one or both of them may be coming in as guides for Kertia,
Yeah.
or have been. They didn't say.
Yeah.
I was asking, and they weren't really offering that up. And but I thought, this feels too, I don't know. It felt like
a spirit guide.
It was resonating with her, right? Well, they were definitely dead people, but they'll show up as spirit guides differently for me. But I just they were going right at her. I could feel what they were doing, and I just felt, I don't know. It felt intense, more like the way spirit guides would speak sometimes.
Yeah.
The spirit guides will give some real personal stuff that, in the dead talks, they don't necessarily do that. Sometimes they'll call somebody out, but for the most part, but they'll give real personal, like memory or different things that I don't know, but you would know. And and that's a little bit different.
Everything resonated. Definitely. Wow. That was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow. That was cool.
Yeah, I didn't even want to interrupt. I was like, I think this is the time when I just stay silent. I need to take this in.
Just take it in, right? If questions had really come, then you can fire them off. But it is they go sometimes and don't stop. So,
and honestly, the questions that I had, they answered as you were speaking. So
that's what happens. They know your questions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I didn't have to say anything, and I'm happy.
Yeah. No. Great. Very good.
Thank you. Wow, guys.
Thank you.
Amazing. Wow. Is there anything that you guys wanted to share or just express as we begin to wrap up?
Well, we were thinking we could give a copy of Joshua's first book, Perception of Reality. It's the audio book, and it's on the website, and they can use the coupon code GaryFree, all lowercase. So the teachings of Joshua.com, click on books, you'll see it right there, and you can download it for free. That'll be a great way to get an introduction to this new approach to life. And we also are doing, the Freedom Project has gotten filled up, so we don't have really room for people on that, but because it's unique to every person, right? But we've created these things called Freedom Boosts. And they're 7-day programs designed around a certain subject: relationships, abundance, health, anxiety, whatever. There's 8 different kinds, and then there's a basic version and an advanced version. So you can pick the one that's at your level. And it gives you a taste of what being in the Freedom Project is like. You'll have 7 modules. You'll have meditations that go with that, exercises, and all kinds of stuff in that. And plus, they come with a 30-minute conversation with Christy, who will help you look at your belief system and that sort of thing. And so
at the end of
we'll
it,
give you a link to that you can put in the description here. And if they go to that, they can check that out.
Perfect. Christy, how you doing? How you feeling?
Great. That's that one was short, which is better, but I do get very wrung out after them. My energy is just, it's zapped. Just the emotion, I think, is what it is. I don't know. Been trying to figure it out for years, but I'm fine. I'm great. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy. So I totally get it.
It's really amazing. So yeah, I'm great.
That was
I'm glad you let me do that.
Yeah, it was perfect. Perfectly said, everything. And I related to everything that both of them said. So I definitely think a lot was there for you.
Yeah, well, it definitely was there for you. That's why they came. Yeah.
Yep. That's why they came specifically. It's always right on.
Yep.
Everything's perfect.
Oh, I can't thank you enough. Wow. Well, it has been such an honor and a pleasure having the both of you on. I look forward to having more conversations with you, more dead talks, more of everything else that the both of you are doing. This has been so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Wow.
you, Kertia. We've really enjoyed it. It's been wonderful.
All right. Christy, is there anything you wanted to share before we get off? I know Gary already gave us everything that you guys are working on, but just if you have any last words, please.
He sure did. I think just from what those guys just said to us, I think the message is that fear isn't failure, right? It's part of this sacred tension that allows space for courage and expansion and surrender and just general awakening to become possible in this physical reality for us. So we didn't come to avoid that fear. We came to understand what it could open, right? What it could allow us to love and move, even if we are afraid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Brilliant.
Thank you. That was brilliant. That was definitely brilliant. Thank you so much, guys.
Okay, fantastic.
Thank you.